So you're the one who makes appointments.
And you're the one who doesn't keep them.
What do you want? Who are you?
Dave Jenkins.
Hollywood may look glamorous, but beneath the dazzling lights, some of its biggest stars have endured unimaginable struggles. Henry Fonda, a name synonymous with classic American cinema, lived through a storm of betrayal, power struggles, and brutal conflicts that nearly broke him. His legacy may be filled with iconic roles, but behind the camera, he was fighting a battle Hollywood never wanted you to see. What happened when one of the most respected actors of his time stood up to the very industry that made him a star? Born on May 16, 1905, in Grand Island, Nebraska, Henry Fonda's roots stretched back to the early settlers of America. His family had survived centuries of turmoil, but nothing could prepare him for the ruthless world of Hollywood. As a child, Henry was quiet and introspective, a stark contrast to the commanding presence he would later bring to the screen. But one horrifying moment in his youth changed everything. At just 14 years old, he witnessed the brutal lynching of Will Brown during the Omaha race riots. The raw, unfiltered violence scarred him forever, shaping the roles he would later choose, characters who stood for justice in a world filled with corruption. Fonda's journey into acting was never part of the plan. His first love was journalism, and he even enrolled at the University of Minnesota to pursue it. But life had other plans. Struggling to balance work and studies, he eventually dropped out. That's when fate intervened. Dodie Brando, the mother of future Hollywood legend Marlon Brando, suggested he audition for a play at the Omaha Community Playhouse. It was a decision that changed his life forever. He stepped on stage for the first time, feeling an undeniable pull toward the craft. He wasn't just performing, he was discovering his purpose. Hollywood wasn't an easy climb. Fonda started in New York, honing his skills in theater before catching the attention of film producers. His breakthrough came in 1935 with The Farmer Takes a Wife, where audiences fell in love with his genuine, understated performances. But Hollywood wasn't just about talent, it was about power. And soon, Fonda found himself entangled in an industry that could make or break careers with a single decision. By the late 1930s, Fonda had become one of Hollywood's rising stars. But it was The Grapes of Wrath, 1940, that cemented his legacy. Playing Tom Joad, a man struggling to keep his family together during the Great Depression, Fonda gave a performance so raw, so deeply moving, that it earned him an Academy Award nomination. He became a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope for struggling Americans. But success came with a price. Hollywood studios wielded immense control over their actors, and Fonda wasn't one to play by their rules. He refused to take on roles that felt inauthentic, a decision that often put him at odds with the powerful figures running the industry. Then came the moment that would change everything. A violent clash on set that revealed the dark underbelly of the entertainment world. While filming, tensions with a high-profile director reached a boiling point. The confrontation wasn't just a verbal spat, it turned physical. A single punch sent shockwaves through Hollywood, exposing the hidden abuse and manipulation that stars like Fonda endured behind closed doors. This wasn't just a fight, it was a breaking point after years of being controlled, bullied, and silenced, and Hollywood tried to bury it. Despite the industry's attempts to downplay the incident, Fonda couldn't ignore the cracks forming in his career. He was no longer just an actor, he was a man fighting for his dignity. And when World War II broke out, he made a decision that shocked everyone. At the height of his fame, he walked away from Hollywood to enlist in the U.S. Navy. "I don't want to be in a fake war in a studio," he declared. He refused special treatment, enlisting as a regular seaman and serving in air operations, where his bravery earned him the Bronze Star. But when he returned to Hollywood, everything had changed. The war had hardened him, making him more introspective, more distant. His children, including future stars Jane and Peter Fonda, would later describe him as emotionally closed off, a man haunted by the things he had seen. His marriage to Frances Ford Seymour ended in tragedy when she took her own life, a loss that deepened the cracks already forming in his personal life. And Hollywood? It had moved on, shifting toward a new era of stars. The late 1940s proved to be a turning point. Struggling to find meaningful roles, Fonda took a bold step back to Broadway. Mr. Roberts, a stage play about life aboard a Navy cargo ship, became a massive hit, running for over 3 years. It was more than just a performance. It was a reflection of his own wartime experiences. But the biggest shock of his career was yet to come. The tension between Henry Fonda and John Ford had been simmering for years, but the set of Mr. Roberts turned it into a full-blown war. Ford had always been known for his demanding and often ruthless directing style. Some actors tolerated it, others loathed it. Fonda, despite his respect for Ford's talent, had grown increasingly frustrated with the director's harsh treatment of those around him. When Mr. Roberts went into production in 1954, their relationship was already fraying, but no one expected what came next. Fonda had played the role of Lieutenant Douglas Roberts on Broadway to massive acclaim. It was personal. He had served in the Navy, and the character's internal struggle mirrored his own past. But when it came time to adapt the play for the big screen, Warner Brothers wasn't convinced he was the right fit anymore. He was 49, had been absent from Hollywood for years, and the studio wanted fresh faces like Marlon Brando or William Holden. Ford, however, refused to back down, insisting that no one but Fonda could do the role justice. He got his way, but at a cost. From the start, Mr. Roberts was plagued with problems. Warner Brothers wanted a more commercial film, pushing for changes that dulled the edge of the original play. The script was altered, the film format switched at the last minute from 3D to CinemaScope, and tensions on set ran high. Fonda, deeply invested in preserving the integrity of the story, repeatedly clashed with Ford over creative decisions. Ford's erratic behavior wasn't new, but this moment exposed just how volatile he could be. The set became a battleground, with even veteran actor James Cagney finding himself on the receiving end of Ford's outbursts. Ford had a habit of testing his actors, pushing them to their limits. When he first met Cagney, he told him, "We're going to tangle asses," and he meant it. On the first day of shooting, Ford berated him publicly for being slightly late, but Cagney didn't back down. In front of the entire crew, he fired back, calling Ford's bluff. The hostility never faded. The chaos came to a head when Ford's drinking caught up with him. Downing a case of beer a day, he soon found himself hospitalized for gallbladder surgery. Warner Brothers had had enough. They replaced him with Mervyn LeRoy, a more stable and disciplined director, and under his guidance, the production finally found its footing. Yet, even after all the behind-the-scenes turmoil, Mr. Roberts became a box office hit, grossing $21 million against a $2 million budget. Ford may have fought for Fonda, but in the end, it was the film that came between them. Fonda never forgave him, never worked with him again, and considered the entire experience one of the most difficult of his career. Away from the screen, Fonda's personal life was just as complicated. He married 5 times, but none of his relationships were easy. His first marriage to actress Margaret Sullivan lasted only 2 months. Their fiery tempers were too much to handle. His second marriage, to socialite Frances Ford Seymour, lasted longer but ended in tragedy. Fonda had already fallen for another woman when he coldly told Frances he wanted a divorce. Devastated, she checked into a mental institution and, in 1950, took her own life. Their children, Jane and Peter Fonda, were just 12 and 10 years old. Instead of telling them the truth, Fonda lied, claiming she had died of heart failure, and didn't even let them attend the funeral. The emotional distance he maintained from his children left wounds that lasted a lifetime. Jane and Peter grew up searching for the love their father never showed them. Peter once recalled how a small incident, being accused of stealing candy, led to a punishment that left him terrified. Too ill to attend the ceremony, Jane accepted the Oscar on his behalf, saying he would probably just smile and say, "Ain't I lucky?" The moment was bittersweet. Fonda had spent a lifetime chasing perfection, only to achieve ultimate recognition when he was too frail to enjoy it.